Russia launched a full-scale military assault on Ukraine last night that shocked and horrified almost everyone in the world, except apparently for the leader of the Republican Party, Donald Trump. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. If you were like me, or like most people around the world, you were watching the news of Russia's attack on Ukraine last night with a sickening feeling in your stomach, a mix of grief and sorrow and despair at the mass human suffering this atrocious act will cause. No one, aside from Putin and his cronies, wants this reckless and illegal war. Certainly not the innocent Ukrainians targeted by it, not the rest of the world watching it, and not the hundreds of ordinary Russians who took to the streets to protest despite a total ban on such demonstrations. So if you were like most people, you were shocked and horrified. But if you were Donald Trump, apparently you were at Mar-a-Lago watching it with a bunch of Palm Beach plastic surgeons and their third wives and thinking, you really got to hand it to Vladimir Putin.
Oh, Trump said Putin's smart. I mean, he's taken over a country for $2 worth of sanctions. I'd say that's pretty smart. He's taking over a country, really a vast location, a great piece of land with a lot of people and just walking right in.
First of all, stop talking about everything like it's a real estate deal. It's an illegal war against a sovereign nation, not an empty lot in Atlantic City. Second, if you ever find yourself at a fancy, high-dollar fundraiser clinking champagne glasses while the keynote speaker applauds an illegal and catastrophic war that will cause mass suffering and destabilize an entire continent, maybe take a moment to text your therapist and ask, am I a bad person? Of course, then your therapist will just text you back, do you think you're a bad person? And you won't hear that text notification because you'll be yelling at the waiter about your salmon, or I don't know, chanting lock her up for no reason because, you know, you're a bad person. Trump then went on to brag once again about how close he is with the guy who is currently waging a violent and unprovoked assault on a neighboring country. But in the process, he, as usual, rambled his way into talking about something completely different and pointed out one of the people in attendance, GOP Congressman Ronny Jackson, his former White House doctor.
This would have never happened, ever in a million years would have never happened. And I know him very well. I know him probably almost as well as I know anybody in this room other than Doc Ronny. Doc Ronny knows me. Where's Doc Ronny? Doc Ronny. Doc Ronny knows me too well.
Yikes, I would not want to be Dr. Ronny in that situation. My two best friends are Vladimir Putin, one of the most reviled men on Earth, who is currently in the midst of waging an illegal war that has shocked and angered the entire world, you know. And, of course, Dr. Ronny. You guys are my best buds, my crew, Vlad and Ron. I love them because they're interchangeable. Ronny, get up and wave to everyone so they can see the man I consider equal in every way to Vladimir Putin. It's like an underling getting called out for praise at a Legion of Doom cocktail party. Okay, who's here? We got Lex Luthor. Great to see you, Lex. Brainiac. Welcome, Brainiac. And, of course, who could forget Dave from accounting? Dave, you are just as important to the Legion of the Doom as the rest of us. Let's give Dave a round of applause. Yeah. Well, the rest of you out there robbing banks and building ray guns, Dave is keeping the lights on. And if you thought Trump's response to the crisis couldn't get any more sickening, he later called into Fox News Live as the invasion was happening and found a way to connect it to his unhinged claims about the 2020 election.
A month ago or 3 weeks ago, all the so-called experts were saying that, you know, Putin was probably going to just be content with staying in those separatist regions. But I think given what's unfolded, sadly, with a lot of weakness in the United States, they just decided to go for it. I mean, it looks like they're going for it. And where does that leave NATO, the NATO alliance?
I think you're exactly right. I think that's what happened. He was going to be satisfied with a peace, and now he sees the weakness and the incompetence and the stupidity of this administration. And as an American, I'm angry about it, and I'm saddened by it. And it all happened because of a rigged election.
How does he do it? How does he find a way to connect everything to his rigged election bullshit? It's like his version of 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Let's see. Putin is from Russia, just like Black Widow, played by Scarlett Johansson, who starred in Marriage Story with Laura Dern, who was in Big Little Lies with Reese Witherspoon, who was in the movie Election, which was rigged. And by the way, the same guy who called our current leader stupid later in that same interview got confused and thought Americans had launched an amphibious attack in Ukraine, which he started complaining about until Fox host Laura Ingraham corrected him and told him it was actually a report about a potential amphibious assault by Russia, not the U.S.
President
Energy
Trump,
independent, and he blew it.
We're just learning that U.S. officials are looking at a potential amphibious landing now in Odessa, Ukraine.
It's a very sad thing, but you know what's also very dangerous is you told me about the amphibious attack by Americans. You shouldn't be saying that because you and everybody else shouldn't know about it. They should do that secretly, not be doing that through the great Laura Ingraham. They should be doing that secretly. Nobody should know that, Laura. And, you know,
that was the Russian. Those are the Russian amphibious landing.
No, I thought you said that. I thought you said that we were sending people in. Oh,
no,
okay.
I did not. No. That would be news. That would be news.
All, and you know what? Hey, that's all we need. That'll be next. Okay.
That guy was commander-in-chief of the United States Armed Forces for 4 years. You know, I think even when we were in grade school and they told us anybody could grow up to be president, we thought to ourselves, well, I'm sure not anybody. I mean, Timmy keeps going to the nurse for chugging paste. But now we literally have to admit, it could be anybody. Honestly, I'd be surprised if he even knows what amphibious meant.
Laura, I was confused because America, of course, has the greatest amphibious forces in the world. Soldiers who can fight with both their right and left hands. Which is very useful if you only have left-handed grenades.
I think you mean ambidextrous.
Okay.
Ingraham even criticized Ukrainian President Zelensky for pleading with Russia and imploring them not to attack his country. He was desperately trying to stop the catastrophic invasion that would cause misery and death, but Ingraham just didn't like it.
We had a kind of a really pathetic display from the Ukrainian President Zelensky earlier today, President Trump, where he, in Russian, he doesn't like to speak Russian, but in Russian, he was essentially imploring Vladimir Putin not to invade his country. Now we basically have the Ukrainian ambassador to the United Nations looking like a defeated man.
What would you say is more pathetic, trying to stave off a Russian invasion that would cause mass suffering and death by speaking in a second language, or having to explain to a former president live on television that it was Russia and not America who was reportedly launching a secret amphibious assault in Ukraine? I'd ask these people how they sleep at night, but I'm guessing they own a MyPillow, which means they don't sleep at all. Have you ever tried sleeping on one of those things? Not only are they filled with packing peanuts and broken glass, but there's also a tiny little voice box in each one that plays soothing sleep sounds personally recorded by Mike Lindell.
We already have all the pieces of the puzzle. And you talk about evidence. We had enough evidence to put everybody in prison for life, 300 and some million people.
A lot of work went into that. A lot of work went into it. You maybe also heard her mention the Ukrainian ambassador looking like a quote-unquote defeated man. Here's what he was actually saying to the Russian ambassador at a meeting of the UN Security Council as the Russian attack was happening.
Call Putin, call Lavrov to stop aggression. And I welcome the decision of some members of this council to meet as soon as possible to consider the necessary decision that would condemn the aggression that you launch on my people. There is no purgatory for war criminals. They go straight to hell, Ambassador.
You never hear language like that at the United Nations, unless it's Model UN. Those kids hold nothing back. For real, one time when I was in Model UN in 6th grade, I moved to table the motion to consider Lithuania's membership to the Council for Ecological Preservation, and the ambassador from Belgium was so mad he put his Capri Sun straw right through my hand. I still have the scar. Went all the way through. And even when they're not openly praising Putin or denigrating Ukraine, Republicans have all rallied around this insane idea that Biden's quote-unquote weakness somehow invited Russian aggression.
To see the way the Biden administration has handled Ukraine is a testament to a historic truth, that weakness arouses evil.
I don't think they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They are in way, way over their heads. I mean, Putin played this almost like a symphony conductor. And he had, and he basically made Biden, he kind of stretched it out to make Biden look more and more foolish. Now, Putin's an evil man.
Yeah.
But Putin is a brilliant man. I mean, as soon as Biden came in, he and she said, let's test him. He looks like a weakling. He's always been a weakling.
Yeah, you def want to get advice on how not to get played from the guy who unwittingly ended up with the third biggest speaking role in Borat. I mean, this guy doesn't know where he is half the time. You're asking for his take on a conflict halfway around the world. Meanwhile, he can't even find the Four Seasons Hotel in Philadelphia. When you asked him about Putin, he probably thought you were talking about French fries and gravy, which, who are we kidding? Rudy definitely calls poutine French fries and gravy. French fries and gravy. I mean, that's a taste that goes together like me and my cousin. We were married. I didn't know at the time. But as soon as I found out, 14 years into it. Anyway, Joe Biden doesn't have a clue. Russia's brutal and illegal act of military aggression will create mass human suffering, which is why the world must do everything possible to alleviate that suffering, including taking in refugees, helping the innocent displaced people caught up in this war, and imposing severe sanctions to get Russia to stop. And as for people like Trump and Rudy,
they are in way, way over their heads.
This has been a closer look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV/AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses, and they need your help. Now more than ever, if you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button, stay safe, get vaccinated. We love you.